Hello everyone. I am Dr. Deepanjali Borse working at Srimati Pushpata Hire Mahila Mahavidyalay Malegaon camp. Here I am going to tell you about a drama and its act-wise study. In this video the focus is given on act first. Now we will see about a drama in brief. A Midsummer Night's Dream was written in 1595. Among the earlier plays of Shakespeare, which are generally marked by their more lyrical quality than his later dramas. The play is that kind of comedy called a masque, which was usually made for some special occasion such as a wedding and which contains dancing, songs, lovers, clowns, fairies, costumes, and scenic effects. Its appeal is to the senses and the imagination, and it leaves little to the critical judgment. Midsummer Day is June 24, St. John's Day, which marks the beginning of the summer season. This day was celebrated by the common people with bonfires, processions, games, and play. It was a time too when all supernatural creatures met for their own rites and performances. Although the author has given it the name of the night of this day, he has deliberately changed the time of action to a similar holiday. May 1st, May Day, because that was the date of the wedding to be honored. The name dream is added to suggest vagueness of time and place customary in dreams and to explain the medley of seriousness and nonsense running through the play. The setting is placed in Athens and wood a mile or so out of the city at some time in its mythical history. Hippolyta, the queen of the Amazons, had laid siege to the city. Its duke Theseus defeated her in battle and won her consent to marry him. The wedding day is set, and the humble artisans of Athens are planning to entertain the celebration of their marriage with a play. Now we will see about Act First, which is about the approaching marriage. The approaching marriage of the Duke Theseus and the Queen Hippolyta. In Scene Second, which is about a stern decree. Stern means a serious and decree means an official law or order. The scene first is set in a room of the palace of Theseus, the Duke of Athens. The Duke enters the room accompanied by Hippolyta, the queen of the Amazons, who is shortly to marry Theseus, and Philostrate, the master in charge of royal entertainments and ceremonies. Theseus appears to be very much in love with his bride to be, and he tells Hippolyta and Philostrate that the time is passing so slowly toward the date set for the wedding that he is hardly able to wait. Hippolyta, who is more logical than the Duke, states that it is impossible to hurry on time and that patience will be duly rewarded. Theseus, however, is greatly excited over the forthcoming wedding celebration and orders Philostrate to do the arrangements and to ensure that the celebration is one of the gaiety and happiness. Philostrate leaves the room to carry out his master's wishes. Theseus then tells Hippolyta that although he defeated the Amazons in battle and carried off their queen, he wishes to give the queen a wedding worthy of her. Meanwhile, Hermia, her father, Euges, Lysander, and Demetrius enters the room and greet the Duke. The Duke asks the reason for their presence. Euges explains that he wishes his daughter Hermia to marry Demetrius, but she refuses to do so as she is in love with Lysander. Euges is extremely annoyed and tells the Duke that the laws of the country is that a daughter shall obey her father, and he appeals to Theseus to command Hermia to carry out her father's wishes. Theseus, who is a kindly man at heart, tries to reason with Hermia. Hermia asks the Duke what would befall her should she refuse to wed Demetrius. The Duke replies that she has but two choices, either to be put to death for disobedience to her father's will or to enter a convent as a nun. He points out to Hermia that as her father created her, he is at liberty to do with her as he pleases, and he advises her to give up Lysander. Demetrius appeals to Hermia to put Lysander out of her life and tells Lysander that he has but a weak claim to Hermia's hand in marriage. Lysander, however, refuses to listen to Demetrius or to the Duke. He asserts that he is as good as Demetrius and just as wealthy, and that apart from this, Hermia is in love with him and he is in love with her. Whereas Hermia dislikes Demetrius. He also adds that Demetrius is unworthy in that he has won the love of Helena and now deserts her. The Duke by now has become bored by these arguments and is besides anxious to see how the preparations for his own wedding celebration are progressing. He gives Hermia 4 days in which to decide her fate and then leaves the room accompanied by Demetrius, Euges, and Hippolyta. Hermia is disappointed and decides that there is little happiness to be founded in life. Lysander tries to comfort his love and tells her that he will save her from Demetrius. He says that he has an aunt who is a woman of considerable wealth and with no children. This aunt lives far from Athens and she regards Lysander as her own child. He and Hermia will flee together to her house where they will be safe from the laws of Athens and can therefore be married. Hermia is pleased with this plan of escape and promises to meet Lysander at the appointed place. Then Helena, who is in love with Demetrius, enters the room and is greeted by Lysander and Hermia. Helena is, however, depressed and extremely jealous of Hermia. She tells Hermia that she wishes she were as beautiful as she so that she could capture Demetrius's heart. Hermia tells Helena how much she hates Demetrius and tells the plan to escape with Lysander. She suggests to Helena that once she, that means Hermia, and Lysander have fled, Helena will be able to capture Demetrius's heart. Helena determines to tell Demetrius about Hermia's plan so that she may at least win his thanks. Happens in scene first. So, the purpose of scene first is that it introduces the main characters of the play: Theseus, Hippolyta, Demetrius, Lysander, Hermia, and Helena, and her father Euges. Scene first indicates the theme of the play. It is about the marriage of Theseus and Hippolyta, the triangular love story of Demetrius, Lysander, and Hermia, the disconsolate Lysander, the proposed elopement of Lysander and Hermia, and the preparations for the entertainment at the wedding of Duke and Duchess. Scene first states the setting of the play, a mythical period in a remote and romantic city, Athens, where anything unexpected may happen. This scene arranges for the presence of all four lovers in the wood. Now we will see scene second. It is about the clowns, that means the artisans who are going to perform a play at the wedding ceremony of the Duke Theseus and the Queen Hippolyta. Scene second is in a room in a house in Athens belonging to Queens, who is the carpenter. Queens, Snug, who is a joiner, Bottom, who is a weaver, Flute, who is a bellows mender, Snout, who is a tinker, and Starveling, who is a tailor, enter the room and sit down. It is evident that they have all come together for some special purpose. Queens make sure that all the company are assembled by reading out a roll of their names and then reminds them that they are gathered together in order to discuss a play which is their intention to perform before the Duke and the Duchess on their wedding night. Bottom the weaver has grown tired of all the irrelevant talk and demands to be informed which play Queens proposes to perform and which roles are to be played by the various members of the assembled company. Queen suggests to his friends that the tragedy of the cruel death of Pyramus and the Thebes be their choice. Bottom heartily agrees with this suggestion, and the names of the actors and the parts they are required to play are read out by Queens. Bottom is set down to play the part of Pyramus. Francis Flute, the bellows mender, is given the part of Thais, the lady whom Pyramus loves. Flute is not happy with the role allotted to him and says that he will be unsuited for it because he has a beard on his face. Queens, however, concludes the argument by ordering Flute to play the part in a woman's mask so that his bearded face will not be seen by the audience. Bottom, who became proud with his own importance, suggests that he play the part of Thais as well as the part of Pyramus and assures his friends that he is able to talk in a high pitched voice which will sound like that of a woman. All other actors do not agree with his suggestion and Flute is told to learn the part. Other minor parts are given to the remaining artisans or actors, but upon hearing that Snug is to play the part of the lion, Bottom becomes excited and suggests that he be allowed to play the lion's part as well as he can roar better than any man. In order to divert Bottom's interest in the lion's part, Queens tells Bottom that such a loud roar would frighten the ladies and that the whole party of actors would be hanged for their plans. Queens appeals to Bottom's vanity and suggests that Bottom stick to the role of Pyramus, for the latter was an extremely handsome man. This flatters the weaver and he agrees to play one part only. Bottom, who seems to have taken the direction of the general affairs out of the hands of Queens, requests the actors to meet in the wood tomorrow night so that they may rehearse their parts in secret. This is what happens in scene second. So here the purpose of scene second is it starts the story of the interlude, that means a play performed by the artisans. Scene second bring the players to the same wood where the lovers are to meet for their elopement. That means Hermia and Lysander as well as the actors are now coming together in the wood. And this scene contrasts clown's humor and comedy with the aristocracy, dignity and tragedy of the first scene. Here act first ends. We will see act second in the next video. Thank you.